Hello and welcome back to the Black Eye Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle. I was in a great debate about whether or not I should make a video about KeKe Palmer and her situation because I understand how she must have felt. Uh, and I really didn't want to just swoop in and have nothing more to add to the situation or to what has been exposed than what was already said. And the subject of vetting came up in my mind, and I began to think about what it means to vet. How do you vet? Is there possible to vet? And then all of a sudden, something came up on TikTok, and I am going to share that video with you. And the whole thing is about grace. I know it's not the grace that you think. It's not the grace that you think. But it is the grace of the Black woman and how we constantly forgive bad behavior. So, what I want to do right now is I want to share this video with you about toxic men and healthy men. And then I want to come back on the other side and we're going to discuss KeKe Palmer because I think there's a better message, or I hope there's a better message to be had than the usual don't date these type of men. There is no safe place for you. She was a victim. I think there's a better message to be had. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share this video with you, and I'm going to come back on the other side.
He said, "Well, I got to the
Hold
car."
on.
He
StreamYard's
said
been
this
acting
to her.
so weird. Okay.
So my homegirl hit me up and she said that she went over this guy's house he'd been talking to for a while. And so she said everything was going good. He cooked her dinner and they're watching a movie. So she said it was getting a little late, around 11 o'clock. So he was like, "Hey, once you get ready to go, get on the road, you know what I'm saying? So, and call me when you get home." So she blurted out, "What, you gay?" Right? And he was like, "Oh, yeah, it's definitely time for you to go." So he walked her out to the car. She was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that," blah, blah, blah. And he said, while he got to the car, he said this to her. He said, "I don't let anybody meet my daughter. My daughter has a tournament tomorrow, and we got to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. So she's being dropped off early. Take care." And she said, "Joe, I felt ashamed, embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong?" I said, "This is what you did wrong. You're used to the behaviors of a toxic man. And when you're used to the behaviors of a toxic man, you think that the toxic man will chance it. He'll be like, look, I'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning for this." He'll do whatever. He chases booty, right? He puts you on the pedals. He does all that stuff, right? Just so you can let your guard down so you can get that. Healed men don't do that. That man assessed you, and he was assessing you based on, whatever characteristics he have in his life. You probably entered his home because you've spoken with him for long and he felt comfortable for you to come to his house. And she was like, yeah, they cherish their environment more. I do. And so I said, what you did was you compared him to the traits of a toxic man. And most women who are not familiar with the healed behavior of a man will do so. And let me tell you what happened to me. I remember this young lady I was talking to one time, and Saks called me and said, "Hey, we got this cologne I ordered." And I said, "Oh, cool." I said, "Well, yo, come with me. I'm gonna go get this cologne." She was like, "All right, bet." So we're in there, and the lady was showing me other cologne and whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, I like this, I like that." And I said, "But I have this." And so she said, "How many colognes you got?" I said, "I got over like 200. And she said, "What? That's suspect." And I'm like, "Oh." But she said it in front of the salesperson, right? So I was completely uncomfortable. And I said, "Oh, okay, okay, all right." And she doubled down. She said, the only man I know that has more than 200 colognes is a man who don't like women. And I looked at her, didn't say anything. So we walked out. I said, well, hey, you take care. Let me take you to your car. And after that, I'd never seen her again. Then she was apologetic and sent this nice, text to apologize and everything else. But I wouldn't deal with her. And let me tell you why. I promised myself a long time ago that I will never ignore another red flag. And when I red flags, I get punished for my cowardness. What do I mean? When I ignore red flags, I'm supposed to have the courage enough to say, even though I desire you, even though I think you bad, even though I want you, I must have the courage to walk away from you. And I have developed that. I believe in discipline over your desire. So I have the courage enough to walk away because I realize that you pay for your cowardness. The things that you're willing to do, you pay for, right? But a lot of women don't understand how healed men operate. And I tell women all the time that a lot of times when men heal themselves, they don't go where they used to go when they were toxic. When men heal themselves, they don't participate in certain things that they used to do, right? And it's not against anything. It's just that represents the old them, and they're no longer that person. I don't drink anymore, right? I don't drink anymore. I don't do none of that. I don't go out to clubs. I don't go to bars. I don't do none of that because I'm not that person anymore. It's not saying anything wrong with it. I just don't go to those places anymore. Right? I don't move the same way I was when I was an unhealed man. Now, that's why I tell women to understand the difference between being a person who sees a bunch of toxic behavior and seeing a man who is actually healed, if that makes sense. And my homegirl, she was like, I can't believe it. Where's the patience? I said, it's not patience. What it is that you see a red flag that could be problematic in the future. And because you see that person in the future, you don't want to deal with that because you're saying that shows that you are not capable of mastering your emotions. And that shows that you have some childishness with you. And that right there could be problematic to later on in a man's life, especially a man who's worth something, right? And I said, you shouldn't have said it. You should have asked. Or 9 out of 10, it's not your place. You've only known him for a couple of months. So that doesn't give you the right or the authority or the arrogance to actually do that to him. And you were wrong for that, to call him out his name. That's why he let you go, because you will get mad and you will call him names. That's why. Now, let me say this. Before you get inside this comment section and you say women go through this and that, I'm just going to let you know, right? I talk about women all the time and I give women advice all the time. And I point things out to women all the time. What you're not going to do is come in and try to change my conversation or change what I want to talk to because you can't handle your emotions. If you do that, I'm simply going to block you because you're supposed to have enough emotional intelligence to know, hey, I don't like this. It makes me feel a certain way. I'm just not going to do it. Or block me. I'm fine with it. I probably don't know who you are anyway. And that's fine. But what we're not going to do is pours in the water of positivity of women and men who can learn from this by your negative comment. And I'm going to start going forward. We're going to be doing that. I'm no longer going to allow people to be negative in comment sections or anywhere else. And if that is you, then this applies to you. And going forward, that is what we're going to be doing. So if you come back and you notice that your comment is gone, it's because it's being deleted. If you come back and you notice you're blocking, it's because I will no longer allow negativity in any space that I am in, especially when people are healing, or especially when people who are on the journey that need this information. I won't let you block them from that. And I found that I was doing that a lot, and I was allowing certain things to happen, and people were feeling uncomfortable. But I was saying, you got to man up or you got to woman up, and I shouldn't have to say that to them. It's not that. Right? I should be able to control the narrative of what I'm saying. So if you're one of those people who say, well, what about women too, and need something to switch, then understand that you won't be here. All right. So y'all take care. I love y'all. Take care.
Now y'all gonna ask me, what does that have to do with KeKe Palmer? Okay, because I have all kinds of problems with the whole statement thing here. But let me tell you what I took away from this statement. Okay, I do follow this man on TikTok, and he's very insightful on the subject of men and women. And of course, people in his comments, women, ask the question, what about patience? What about forgiveness? Everyone makes mistakes. I guess he got really tired of those comments and he turned them off because he didn't want to hear about uh, grace and patience and people making mistakes. And I have to, from what I understand, the, the people who made those comments were mostly grace. And I'm talking about grace to people who hurt us. We give too much grace to people who insult us. We give too much grace to people who disrespect us. We give them grace. You heard what he said, right? One, the comment is, you know, she said the only person that she knew didn't have that many perfumes is men who don't like women. I mean, 200 perfumes is very excessive for a man or a woman, but that's not the point, right? He didn't tolerate what he perceived to be a disrespect. He put her in the car and he sent her home. These are not women or people who could not be corrected because they saw they were wrong and they apologized. But he didn't even want to hear about what women go through, the disrespect that women go through, and the grace that women give men all the time. And it put me in mind of what KeKe Palmer went through when she allowed herself to go through with this man and have an 8-month-old son with him, the grace she gave him. 1 year ago, February 2022, in my own home, in her own home, the home that she worked 20 years to build, her furniture, her. He puts hands on her and she gives him grace. Flip that script around. That would continue. Now, I know everybody's going to say, Michelle, you up here blaming the victim. I'm not really. But at some point, at some point, at some point, we have to step up and take responsibility for our lives. You see how he didn't put up with one iota. Actually, I personally didn't think it was that offensive. But they didn't put up with it. They sent the women to the car, closed the door, and sent them on their way. Women, we have to practice this. To practice recognizing the problematic behavior, and we have to be able to stop it right there in its tracks. Leave. You space. They saw a in my opinion, a potential behavior that, in my opinion, could have been corrected because both the women apologized for what they said. They didn't accept that apology. And even if they did, it didn't matter because they weren't going to mess. This is what we have. They open their mouths and start talking and saying, I've been disgusted all week because I'm arguing with him about his car. And where he's going to take her. Woman, get out the daggone car. You said some things he did not like. He's going to drop you off. He already told you what kind of man he was. Get out the car. Or woman to people who don't want you to be their woman. Stop. Or if I'm a young older person, that's the only thing I ever get out here. Stop doing this. Have the courage to walk. Leave them alone. Once they taking you out to dinner, and they acting a fool, leave that giving you grace. They leave your butt alone. And you're going to sit here and give them grace. How much grace did she give him? A whole year. He's flipping her on her assaulted her in her own home. Because they not sharing the home. He didn't put no money up in that house. And it says right here, say separate from Jackson and work with him to determine a child custody, but he refused to give her this. She gave him a try so hard to have amicably got out of there and got an R per his mouth, and he said some foul stuff. You guys here, people. If it were you, they would not give you that same grace. They will not do that. Heard what he said. There's no way in the world. But because she wanted to be kind. What the frick, man? You have to stop tolerating that. That's how you leave the. But if it's and drop it like a. Now, whether you agree with it, why put ourselves through our routine to stuff? That's the message. Because he said, because see, they think about themselves. Stop trying. No, 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 no. They haven't had, what's it, 4.5. Why? Learn to cut it off. I ain't arguing about that stuff. I'm not going through this stuff with you. And you need to really start and avoid being in this. Now, they wouldn't give you. You. That's for sure. But I know y'all going to say, well, I know. I've been there. Well, anyway, I don't know. Need to stop this happens. Something home being a soul for what? Because see, when that you can horrible, you can be shamed. They don't care. You're done. For ourselves. You come in here, you disrespectful, you're done. Get up and walk away from the table. Leave them sitting there. Get up and walk away get out of the car. Make him pull over, get out of the car, have your phone ready, have your Uber, go on home. Or go wherever you want to go. Have your friends ready, and y'all go somewhere. We need better standards. Or we need to hold up the ones that we do have. Because they're holding up theirs. I guarantee you, that if this was a man, and a woman came into his home and was attacking him, she would be out in handcuffs. And we all know what kind of woman we talking about, too. Anyways, I probably said too much about this. Way too much about this. But, yeah. Yeah. Anyways, tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me what you think about this in the comments. What you think about men and women holding up the standard and not putting up with toxic behaviors on either side, and learning to cut that crap off before it gets to this kind of thing where there's DV and hands and arguments and all that kind of stuff. What do you think about that? Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, bye.